recording the entry for contra set off. So we'll start by an example. Okay, so B is your debtor and creditor both, which means that you sell goods to B and you purchase goods from B. So sometimes it is possible for the same person to be your debtor and creditor both. This means that B owes us and we owe to B. In other words, B is your trade receivable and trade payable as well. So in this case, we set off balances between our trade payables and trade receivables. Okay, so on the completion of each term's accounts, an appropriate amount is transferred into company's accounts so that B has the balance on either purchase ledger or sales ledger. So we will discuss further about this with an example. Okay, so at year end, the balance of B's accounts were as follows. Purchase ledger 500 credit. This means we owe 500 to B, and sales ledger 900 debit, which means B owes to us. Okay, so first we will calculate the amount, we will calculate the set off mentally. We will receive 900 from B and we have to pay 500 back to B as we discussed. Now what will be the net value that we have to either pay or receive? Okay, so the 400 is the amount that we will receive from B. This is quite understandable. Okay, so we had to receive 900 from B and had to pay 500 to B, and the net value of the amount we will receive is 400. Simple math. Okay, so this is what we can calculate, but how to show this in the sales ledger and purchase ledger control accounts? Okay, so here is the debtor, matlab trade receivables account for B, and the creditor or trade payable account for B. These are the individual accounts. Now the balance which are given to us. Trade receivable 900 debit on the debit side, the sales ledger or the credit sales ledger, which is our trade receivables ledger, 900, and purchase ledger or credit purchases ledger, which is our trade payables, 500 on the credit side. Now what should we mention on the opposite side as the contra set off? Okay, so the most important point here is to always choose the smaller balance. Okay, so we always choose the smaller balance. Which one of these are smaller? 500. So we will write it on in both the accounts. 500. Now what is actually happening here? What will be the effect of writing 500 in both the accounts, in trade receivable account on the credit side and the trade payable account on the debit side? So the effect of this will be that our trade payables will cancel out. So no amount is to be paid to B. And in the trade receivables account, the balance CD would be 400 . Now what does this balance CD represents? This amount of balance CD represents the amount which B owes to us at the end of the term, and the one which we calculated is the same as what we showed here. We will receive 400 from B, and the same thing as the balance CD on the trade receivables account, which actually means that we will receive 400 because B owes us 400 after we set off the balances. Okay, so the quick revision of what we discussed that B, which is our trade receivable and trade payables, which means the balance of B of the amount that they owe to us will be included in the balance BD of the sales ledger control account, which actually represents all the individual balances of your debtors. And purchase ledger control accounts, the balance BD on the purchase ledger control accounts represents all the individual balances, all the total of individual balances of your creditors, which obviously includes balance of B, the amount which we owe to B. So if we mention the smaller balance on both the sides, as I showed you before, the effect will be that the balances will be set off and we have to either pay or receive from our customer or supplier. Okay, so there are two cases in which they'll test you about your information about contra set off, your knowledge for contra set off. In the first one, they will just give you the amount of the contra set off. It will be mentioned in the balance that the amount that you have to mention on the credit side of sales ledger control account and debit side of purchase ledger control accounts, both the amounts are same. They will give you this amount in the question named as contra set off, or they will give you the sales and credit sales and purchase. This is balances. The example we just did, and you have to select the smaller amount, the smaller figure, and record it on the credit side in the sales ledger control account and the debit side of your purchase ledger control account. Please don't be confused. You have to record the same amount in both the accounts. This amount is the smallest of both the balances mentioned.